I need to share. I can't run the video without sharing. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Now, here we go. And welcome to the ever moving to the to the Witch Chat Chats. Yay. Nikki, we need to get things together. Okay, welcome to Witch Chat Chats, presented by the ever moving We Rise Temple, the Laughing Soul Holistic Center, and Moonlight Potions and Charms. Known as the Witchy Ones, I am your host, Nikki Kirby, and Pam Griffith is our co-host. Say hello, Pam.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, we we are just having so much fun. So this week we've got a full moon ritual. It's on Thursday, August the 3rd at 9 o'clock with the ever moving Rise. Yep. And Pam is going to show us what it's like to light yourself on fire. Yay! Let's not miss that.
My fire department's hoping I missed that.
Oh, Lordy. And then Pam and I wanted to let you guys know about the green tent that's on Saturday, August the 5th at 9 p.m. And the green tent is for men. It's kind of like the red tent version for men. So basically, you're talking about men things. That's all I'm going to say about that. Unless Pam wants to add something else.
Green tent, show up.
Awesome. And then we got the red tent on Saturday, August the 12th at 9 p.m.
September. Girl, you got us a month behind. We're in September.
Oh, yeah. Everything is September.
Lord, you just lost the whole month.
All right. So let's go back. All right. So the full moon ritual is on September the 3rd at 9 p.m. Green tent is on September the 5th at 9 p.m. Red tent is on September the 12th at 9 p.m. And Miss Pam can tell you more about that.
Red tent, come on, ladies. We need y'all to come out. There's nothing that we don't talk about. It is not recorded, so that way nobody can hold anything. Red tent is just for us to get together. We talk about life issues, and anything can be a life issue. You're having issues with your kid in school, let's hear about it. It used to be these were always done by sitting around canning, popping peas at night, you know, cleaning up the vegetables you picked during that day. That's where I learned my red tent skills. So everything is open and everything's cool. So there's no problem. Just come on in, stop in. You don't have to participate. You can just sit and listen. We get silly, we get funny, we laugh, we cry, we share our stories. If you don't feel comfortable about asking a question but have one, I always tell you our chat is open. Just type it in the chat. We'll bring it up and we'll talk about it. That it.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun too at our little red hen tents.
Yeah, they call it a hen's talk, but you know what? We have a lot of fun, and the guys, from what I understand, have a lot of fun at theirs too. And again, it's talking about stuff that men normally don't talk about. So they hit on different things that go on with the men's life as they get older, and just stuff that's coming up now. I mean, right now we're in uncharted waters with this COVID. None of us know how to deal with this. We weren't alive during the last pandemic. So, and let's face it, there was not that much technology back then. So now we're having to sort this out and figure out how we need to do things and what we need to do in order just to make it day to day.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And Pam, you wasn't alive during the last episode?
No, I
I
missed
could have
that.
swore you were a child,
Yeah,
walking
everybody
around
says,
with
well,
Dino. It was like, come
yes,
on.
I wish I could have brought back some information. But no, seriously, guys, with all that's going on, this is a lot of fun. Sometimes you just want to blow off a little frustration. That's cool. Bring it on. We're open to it. Because we know that this is unprecedented times. We don't even know what we're doing. So, but every week.
Now, Pam, you know you're not supposed to admit that on the air.
Oops, that just went out, and that was one of those Freudian slips.
All right. So, our topic today is pagan businesses. So, we've got a lot of questions that Pam and I, are going to talk about today. And we got a lot of information for you as well, for people who want to go into a pagan business, for people who are continually operating, and also for the community to understand what pagan businesses are and how we contribute to the community itself. So, one of the first questions that we have is why pagans should go into business for themselves. Take that away, Pam.
And why not? You know your business better than anybody. I don't care what you're doing, from tarot reading to candle making. You know what you're doing. Let's hear about it.
That's true.
Pagans go into business because, like anybody else in the world, we all think it's going to be fun. I've had a few businesses. We'll talk about that. But you want to do something for you. Having a business is like birthing a baby. You got to nurture it. You got to have the right godparents and the right aunts and uncles to help you. And you just got to really, really work at it. Most business owners do not do a 9 to 5. They do a 9 to 9, sometimes 9 to 2.
That's
So
true.
they'll put in anywhere from 20 extra hours a week to 40 extra hours a week. And I can honestly tell you that's the way it is when you own your own business.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
That is.
pagans should, because pagans have we got a lot of good stuff that we do.
We do. We absolutely do. It's just like with me, when my business isn't open, I still am working on my business 24/7. I have to have my mother to try and say, are you going to actually watch TV with me today? Are we actually going to spend some time? Because of the fact that I am so involved with my businesses. The one reason why I went into business was because I wanted to give something back to my pagan community. That's what I wanted to do. With me, I've been through so much in my life. I've had so much to happen to me, and then when I got to a calling, and see, that's one thing with pagan businesses. It has to be a calling. Okay, it's just like being a high priestess. It's a calling. That means that you are there not just for yourself, but you're there for other people as well. And there were some things that I figured, hey, I can contribute to this. I can be able to help people with these type of things. And so I really wanted to give back to the community. So my businesses are not really as much about me as it is about you guys, the community itself. And with pagan businesses, we are more likely to support the local pagan community as well. So that's one reason why you got to support us, because we're the ones that you come to, you sit down, you have a little conversation with, and it's a good way of being able to network and find other people of like minds. It's an amazing type of thing, but it can also be very, very heartbreaking. It can be extremely hard, and it's not, like I said, it has to be a calling. You can't just go into it and say, hey, I want to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not overnight. I mean, Jackie Smith was on a few weeks ago, and she was telling us about how her business almost went bankrupt several different times. You know, we at Pagan Businesses, we have the same concerns as other businesses, but we also have some unique ones as well. Like, we don't Like with pagan, depending on if you have a Christian bookstore, you don't see the local pagan groups going around and protesting the Christian bookstores. But if you have a pagan shop, you have to deal with that kind of stuff a lot of times. This is stuff people are not going to tell you. I remember about 15 years ago. Now, I'm in a small county here in North Carolina, and we had a metaphysical shop called the Purple Unicorn, and I absolutely loved it. But you know what? It lasted a month because of all of the harassment they ended up getting, and also they harassed the landlord and stuff like that. So it only lasted a month because of that. That was back before, we were able to come out, before all this other stuff that we had. But there's, like I said, there's unique things that we contribute to as well. So if you are a pagan owner and you own a brick and mortar store, go to the other people around you, talk to those people. Show them that we are not the big bad scary. Although Pam likes the big bad and scary, show them that we are not the big bad scary wolves. We're not the ones that go around and eat babies' brains. Okay, we don't do that, Pam. I mean it. I mean it. We don't do that anymore.
Swearing off of them.
And show them the good side, because a lot of times when it comes to pagan owners, they are the face of paganism. Doesn't matter what it is, they are the face of paganism. And with us, we also have to realize that not everybody follows. If you have a tradition that you follow, not everybody follows that. So we have to understand other people's spiritualities as well, so we can be able to present what our services, our products to everyone, and be able to touch everyone in the community and be able to help out. And a lot of people, a lot of other businesses don't have those types of things that they're doing. But we have to do that because this is what we are. We're the ones that have to fight to get a pendulum put on our gravestones. Okay, you don't have to fight with a lot of other religions. You don't have to do that. We had to fight and got it finally. We have to do a lot of things in order to be able to move forward and to show people we're not the big bad scary werewolves. We're not the big bad scary witches. We don't come and eat your little dog. Okay, we won't do that. I mean it, Pam. We don't do that anymore.
No, no more. It's funny you bring that up, but it's really true. And what a lot of brick and mortar stores do is they also have learning classes. They
Mm-hmm.
also have the evening classes and Saturday classes and Sunday classes that allow teaching, that allow learning, and just allow a lot of pagans to get together so that we can further our and knowledge. Um, there were a few in Baltimore, and I used to go to them regularly. I used to teach at a couple of them because it was gathering people. You're getting together. You're when pagans come together, the teacher learns probably the most, more than any student she has. She's going to learn from her students because I'm going to get students there from 4 or 5 different traditions, and they're going to tell me things, and I'm going to learn. And that you don't have at more normal brick and mortar stores. I mean, when the grocery stores close at night, they close at night. There's nothing going on afterwards. When a bookstore, a normal bookstore closes, very seldom do they have anything going on afterwards. When a pagan store closes, there is the schedule is so tight, you're lucky you can breathe.
That's true.
Every night of the week they've got something going on, and it's outreach. It's always an outreach. It's a teaching this, it's a learning how to do this. It's someone coming in, like an author coming in that's going to talk about their book. It's all of these things that perpetuate us that happens at night. So the poor owner may close his door at 6, but he may not leave his shop till midnight.
That's true. That's true. And it's also a place in which a lot of groups like covens, churches, we come together, we do rituals. I remember there is a shop in Oakland that does that. And I used to go there a lot of times for Hecate rituals, for Santa Morta rituals, for Dionysus rituals, for all different types of rituals because they would host them, through their local groups and so forth. So that's one thing. And there was a quote that I wanted to say, and it's by Patty Wigginton, and she's the author of Badass Ancestors, the book. And she's written about two articles concerning pagan businesses. And one of the quotes is, while a pagan based business may be similar to other startup businesses in many respects, there is also a few key issues that pagan entrepreneurs have to face, which may be non existent for non pagan counterparts. And that is what we just were discussing, some of the things that they do. And another reason why you should support small pagan businesses is because she points out there is no pagan version of Walmart. We don't have that. We don't have the local pagan version of Walmart or Pegmart or whatever you would.
That would be awesome if we did, trust me.
That would be awesome, but we don't have that. So, and a lot of times when it comes to locally owned stores, like for example, with my store is an online store, but but I am able to allow people to do curbside service if they want to do that. Now, if you go anywhere, I'm in Rutherford County, so if you go anywhere to any other type of, if you want pegging stuff, either you have to buy it online or you have to go, let's see, it's at least an hour to Hendersonville. If you want to go to Asheville, it's 15 more minutes on that. You got Charlotte, and Charlotte is another hour away. And these are like in these directions here. I think there's one in Gastonia. I'm not really quite sure. And then there's Spartanburg. There's one in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and that one is another hour away that you have to go. And then you got Greenville, which is an hour 30 minutes away. So when you don't support that local store, that store gets into trouble, especially with the COVID here lately. Because with many of the brick and mortars, they still have to pay rent. They still have to pay their employees if they have it. They still have to pay utilities. They still have to pay for their supplies, for their time. There is a whole list that they still have to pay. And by not supporting them, for example, if you're going to um, buy a book, say you want to go buy a book, the Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Butler, that one. If you're going to go buy that one, go to your local pagan stores first. Yes, they may be a little bit more expensive, but number one, you're getting usually a better service, because the shop owner or whoever works there will pay more attention to you and try to help you out a little bit more to understand what you actually need. Because that may not be the book you need. You may need this book instead. Or you may not even need a book at all. You already know it. Whatever the situation is. Um, but see, if you go to like Barnes and Noble and you go to Amazon and you go to all of them, that's taking money away from your local business economy. We need that. We need that money for the local
The other
business.
thing you may not understand is your brick and mortar store isn't just that one person. Many, many brick and mortar stores take in consignments from some of the other smaller wholesalers. If you make soaps, you go to your pagan store and your pagan store might display your soaps and you're selling your soaps. If you make lotions, they probably have lotions from a local. So you're walking into a store that is not one person, it's a collaborative. So you're walking in, you've got soaps from this guy, you've got lotions from this person, you've got herb sachets from this person, you've got something else, robes that are made by another person. So when you support your local pagan store, brick and mortar, you may be supporting 6 or 7 other pagans at the same time. So, because we tend to congregate that way, and because it makes more sense for 4 or 5 of us to get together to present our goods, where we just can't afford an individual store each. So people just think it's one person. It's not. It's usually a whole little community in there. If you ask your local pagan store owner, he's probably going to tell you, yeah, the soaps are from so and so. This is from such and such. The jewelry is made by somebody else. The robes are made by somebody else. So that's kind of what is unique about paganism, is that we do that. And everybody knows if you buy something that's handmade, it's 100 times better than store-bought. Might not be perfect, but the love and intent that went into it is worth anything Walmart can hand you.
That's true. That's true because we do put our energies into our products. Because when people, like for example, I know that when pagan owners or any of their employees, where they're making oils, making candles or powders or whatever it is that they're making, they're putting their own energy into this. And it's to make sure that this product is good enough for the community, for their customer, because they really, really care about their customers. And Miss Pam was going to tell us about the steps for a small business.
I've owned over the years 4 small businesses. I've been incorporated 4 different times, mostly in the state of Maryland. Every state has different paperwork that you have to do. I've incorporated 3 businesses here in the state of Florida. So I know a little bit about Florida and a whole lot about Maryland. If you need to check where you're from, the state that you actually are in, but there are a few steps that are universal. The first one is you got to have an idea. What do you want to do? One of my businesses was a catering business. So I knew I could cook. I graduated from a cooking school. I was the first female master chef. So I was pretty proud of that. I decided I'm going to go into business for myself. The next is a plan. Now, your plan is not just your financial plan, but you need to have that because you got to figure out what it's going to cost, what you need to buy, all the kind of crazy stuff that comes up, how you're going to do it, as well as are you going to do a brick and mortar store? Hey, if you're not, are you allowed to keep products in your house if you have a house? Now, I was with Mary Kay Cosmetics for quite a number of years. Most, and I'm saying most, prefacing it, states require you to have an extra insurance policy if you keep a product of any kind in your house to sell. So with Mary Kay, you do tend to keep an inventory. I had to get special insurance. Now, when you work with Mary Kay has the insurance plan, and they're very, very inexpensive. But if your house were to burn down or flood out, and you had X number of dollars in your product sitting on your shelf ready to go, you might lose all of it unless you have that rider on your insurance policy, because your rider is only for you. Your insurance policy covers you and the normal day-to-day things that you would have in your house to live there, not to do business there. Now, this is really crazy right now with COVID coming up, because a lot of brick and mortars have taken their stuff in because they've lost their brick and mortar. So they have all of this product in their house. You need a rider on it. If something were to happen, you're going to lose all that product. And I'm going to tell you, product alone, even if you pay wholesale price for it, can break you if you lose it all. So you need your plan. You need some kind of financial backing. By that, I mean a little bit to get your plan started. Maybe you put back $25 a week out of your paycheck to give you a little nest egg to get this business off the ground. There are going to be triple the expenses that you realize that you need that money for. It's amazing how things double, triple, and quadruple in the blink of an eye, and I'm not joking. When I started my catering business, I needed all this stuff to put food on it. Then the plan was I was going to cook in my kitchen until I found out what I had to go through the state of Maryland in order to get my kitchen certified, that I could cook out of my kitchen and sell it and not get in trouble if something went bad. Then, well, how do you want to show up to work in your business? Like you go to the hall, the local hall hired you to do a wedding. You don't want to show up in your dirty old blue jeans and your t-shirt. So that's uniforms. Oh yeah, that's another expense we weren't counting on. Then you need to have serving uniforms, because you really don't want to serve in the crap that you cooked in the back with, that you've spilled everything down the front of you, because trust me, you look like you've ate half the stuff. Okay, that was another expense we hadn't really counted on. Tablecloths, napkins, bridal china, bridal silverware. You know, if you want to do the paper thing for the rest of the guests, the bridal table always got to look good. So there you go. You just shelled out enough for, I don't know, 10 people at the front table. So that means you got to buy 3 sets of china and they've all got to match. So there's a lot of expenses. So financial backing is great. Put away some money, think about it. And we'll talk a little bit later on in the show where you might be able to find some financial backing. Then the next question is, do you want partners or not? And I kind of equate this to a marriage. You can spend more time with your partners than you are with your significant others because you have got to go over stuff. I always joke with my boss, he owns his own business here in Florida, the gentleman I work for. And it seems sometimes I spend more time with him than his wife and kids do because I'm with him 9 to 5. We jokingly refer to it as some of our employees are work wives and work husbands because we spend more time with them. Because when you get home at 5 or 6 o'clock, you're only with your significant other for a couple hours before you go to bed, but you've been with me for 8 hours. So you've got to look, if you want a partner, how you want to do it. How do you want to write that up? And I'm going to tell you, the first thing you need to do in your state, get yourself state recognized, get your name. And that's another thing. We won't even talk about that. That is worse than getting your child's name. If you think picking out your kid's name is hard, try picking out a name for a business with a partner and not killing them. See, that's what first thing you got to promise each other. You're not going to kill each other. Okay. Then you have to remove all the voodoo dolls from your house. You have to remove all your puppets from your house and all.
No, I had to. I had to with you. You were going, me.
Tell you, it is, you don't understand how heated things can become because you're birthing this child. Okay. If you're a woman and had a child, you know what it's like. You know how nasty you can be. Okay, just imagine that. And that's what it's like. And then you need to get your first thing you want to do is get your federal ID number. And usually with that, you've got to fill out a lot of paperwork. It doesn't cost much, but it's a pain in the rear with all the paperwork. So you want to get your federal ID number. Once you get that, to go to the state, now that's a whole nother baby that you got to birth. So you birthed your federal baby. Now we're going to birth your state baby. You birth that child. First of all, you usually have to have at least 4 people, if not 5 people. Then you have to have, what is your mission statement? Mine was easy. I want to be a millionaire, but they wouldn't take that. They said no. So I had to come up with an actual mission statement. You want to open a store and sell stuff. Is that not? No, that's not your mission statement. So this is why you see some businesses have these really weird, mission statements. Like, what does that mean? Okay, it's because at 3 a.m. after 4 bottles of tequila, you're coming up with a mission statement. Okay, just keep that thought in mind. It happens. You got your mission statement. Now you got to put people in places. Then that's where sharp knives are to be put away.
So the mission statements, according to Pam, the mission statements come from the worm she swallowed.
I'm telling you. Oh, it was, yeah. Then you've got to come up with who's in what position.
Ooh,
president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and your resident agent if you have one. But any one of those 4 people can also be a resident agent. And that's the person that's living in the state where you're going to get incorporated. Now, you're in your home state. Maryland, if you look at a lot of the LLCs, are incorporated in Delaware because it's cheaper. You can pay a state agent $100 a year and get incorporated. Okay, we're not going to go there. But that's how that works. So you have to decide now, what kind of business are you? Okay. That's like throwing darts at a dartboard. You have to decide what is going to be best for you because you have to decide if you, first of all, are you profit or nonprofit? Most businesses, brick and mortar, and also home businesses are for profit. Your churches, your religious organizations, and service organizations are nonprofits. That's a whole different ball of wax. You actually have to start thinking about other people coming into your business because you're going to need an accountant or someone that knows accounting. That's what I do. I'm an accountant. So I get the fun of trying to figure out where I'm going to put items and make it look legal for the government to look at and say, okay, you're right. But you also, that's how you pay your taxes. That's also how you get paid, depending upon the corporation type that you pick, whether you're a sole proprietor, partnership, an LLC, a limited what they call an S corporation. There's a lot of differences. And I know right now you're totally confused and it's alphabet soup and you're ready to say, I'm not going to do it. Don't give up. There's lots of help out there. One of the two biggest places you can get help, and it's going to sound funny, is one is AARP. Believe it or not, they have a lot of retired people who are bored. I can tell you honestly, they like to keep their hands going. So you can get a hold of somebody from AARP who has owned a business similar to what you're doing. It might not be exactly the same, but it's similar enough. A retail outlet is a retail outlet. There's not a whole lot of differences. They can give you tips, hints, and help you with the ideas. The other is SCORE, SCORE. That is a federal program through the Small Business Administration. They also, same thing, board people. Now, if you're lucky enough to live near someone who has owned a business, sometimes they can give you a few hints and tips, but you just got to be careful. Was their business successful? Why do they no longer have it? Those are questions to ask. And it's not being invasive. It's finding out if they made mistakes. You don't want to make the same ones that they're teaching you. So, there's a lot of things to look at. I encourage anybody who has the urge, the need, or the idea, go for it. There are so many people out there helping you. With this COVID, internet has become booming with businesses overnight. I mean, it's like, ooh, I thought it was bad before, but now it's really crazy. Start looking at some of the setups they have. How do they keep their stock? How much do they keep? What's a good thing to do? There are gatherings and there are small businesses in your area. In fact, Jackie, who we had on, told us that she goes out and does talks to people about having a small business and what it's like. You can hook up with these people. Many of them are giving webinars now online. A couple bucks for a webinar is money well spent if it saves you, your store.
Yeah, it's investing in your store is what it actually is, as well as investing in yourself.
But there's a lot of resources out there now, and especially with this COVID going on, believe it or not, it's easier because now you've got the webinars. You're not having to pack up and travel halfway across your state, or even into another state, to stay overnight to take this class, where now you can sit in your pajamas and you can take a webinar and actually get the information that you needed. Banks are now doing webinars, and they're doing small business webinars. They're doing little hour-long bites. They are here in Florida, and it's kind of interesting because it's usually your bank that you're dealing with, and they'll say they're having a webinar on this subject, touch in with us. And a lot of those are free. The bank is doing it to help you guys out, because when you guys succeed, they succeed, but also to help anybody out that's looking at a small business. Banks are starting to realize that the people out here are the ones putting the money in there, so they need to keep the people out here a little bit happier, because it's real easy now to switch banks. It used to be a pain in the rear, but now you can switch a bank in a heartbeat. So they're starting to understand that. Some of the credit unions are doing the same thing. They're doing small webinars on how to start your small business and things of that nature. Just be careful of the webinars you attend. You don't want to attend, a million of them. You want to watch what you're attending. You also want to make sure those that you're attending are somehow a little bit more legit than others. Just look at who's giving the webinar. If it is like Jackie, who's had her business for how long, Nikki? She's been in business.
She's been in business since the 90s.
Okay. She's got a track record.
Mm-hmm.
She has a great track record. She's one that you'd want to go listen, because she's going to tell you the ups and the downs. She's not going to, like she told us, she almost lost her business like 4 times. And that's revealing, because that lets you know that, okay, this woman has been there, done that. She knows. And that's the kind of webinar you want to get into. If someone's never failed, they've never tried.
That's true.
So get a hold of these people. They are out there for you. The Small Business Administration has classes. Just be careful you don't need them. Sometimes they are a little lengthy and they really don't go into what you need. But they do have a grants program, and I have a little bit up here. Grant programs, grants you don't pay back, but let's understand the difference. A loan is something you're going to pay back over time. A grant is money given to you for free. So we like grant money. But again, with grants, they usually want you already to be in business because they want to see what your record is before they invest in you. They're not just going to give money out to watch it burn. So they're going to want to invest in you. The small business loans, again, they're really good, but they have a small, very small percentage that they charge. But you usually have to be in business already for that. They are not startups. If you're looking for startup grants in your area, check into a lot of your nonprofit, larger nonprofit businesses. A lot of them do have small grants that they do hand out to people. So our next question was, why do we pay pagans to be in pagan organizations?
Take
Nikki,
it away, Pam.
oh no, you got that one, girl. You know my feeling on that one.
All right. So Pam and I, we talk a lot about paying people for what they do, whether it is a tarot reading or it's a candle or it's bath salts or an oil. Those things cost. And so Pam and I have talked about this. And what I'm going to do is I want to share one of the candles from Moonlight Potions and Charms. This is called the Essence of Dragon. And I'm going to tell you, this is what basically goes into the candles. Number one, we have to come up with an idea. So that idea, it takes time for us to be able to do. Number two, once we come up with that idea, we have to do some type of research. And to make sure that number one, we're offering something that's a little bit different compared to our competition. Number two, what it is that we're offering and what type of energies need to go into that just to make sure everything's good. And then we design the label. So this is the label for the Essence of Dragon. This is actually a hand-drawn label that I put into a software and I started to play with it. So the designing of the label can take anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 weeks of your time. Yeah, it can take that long. Because number one, you need to make sure that the label is printable, which takes paper and that takes ink. Now, ink, I'll go ahead and tell you something. That's highway robbery. Ink is highway robbery because those things can go through like that and they cost. So
you could almost buy a new printer for what you pay for ink.
That's very, very true on top of that. And so we need the money for the technology, for the software, for the computer to be able to do that because the computer does a lot more than just designing. It does advertisements. It is the way of we going onto our website, which also costs money to be able to do that. But once you get the label done, you have to find the material. There you go. You got to find the material. That I have to get a candle. So I have to get a physical candle, which means that if I'm going to go in person to find this particular prayer candle that I'm going to be using, I have to get in my car, which cars cost money.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay the insurance for the car. You have to pay the gas for the car to get to there and back. In addition to the time it takes for you to go find the material. And even if you go online, being online can take you forever to find what you need. Trust me, been there. So let's say go ahead and we purchase a prayer candle. Now, on top of that, I need an item because all my candles are fixed. I need an item to be able to punch in the holes that I use to put in the oils. Now, there's another thing. Remember Pam's witch's cabinet a few weeks ago? when she was talking to you about blending oils together, that takes time as well because you want to make sure that the oil isn't going to make somebody pass out or gag. Because what you think goes together, sometimes it's like, no, it don't go together. It don't smell good. On top of that, after I do the oils, which, like I said, takes time, I have plastic wrap on top of it because I wanted to make absolutely sure that when, um, like for example, I was talking in my traveling altar that candles are made of wax, and because they're made of wax, there's certain places in which they're going, like Florida, for example, or North Carolina. I've actually seen a candle melt and not even be lit. I've seen that happen, and the wax goes everywhere. So I wanted to make sure that whoever I'm sending my candle to, whoever purchased my candle, number one, it's not going to have a yucky mess. Number two, on top of that plastic wrap, I have a rubber band to make sure it's secure. So that's everything that you get. Then I have to worry about the shipping costs. Now let me tell you something about the United States shipping. I don't use UPS and I don't use FedEx because I'm a small business. I can't really afford that. Number one, I do not ship in internationally because that's a whole new different ballgame. But with the United States Post Office, things change. They don't always charge by weight. Sometimes they charge by dimensions. What I mean by dimensions is how odd is your box? They do charge by that. I've had that happen to me. So I had to figure that out. So that means you got to go and get the box to put it in. So that's another thing you got to pay for. And then I already talked to you about advertising, especially with social media. You can spend a year on social media just advertising, doing nothing else but advertising. You can spend a whole day just pushing a few things on one social media, on one like Facebook. You can spend a whole day on Facebook just trying to advertise one product. Um, so there's that, and then on top of that, the person wherever it's wherever they are, whether it is in a brick and mortar store or it is their home that they're doing this out of. Okay, that's a building that costs money to store that. So we're having to pay rent and utilities because the utilities are used to create the label. They're used to be able to do the advertising. It's used to do have the light so I can be able to see what I'm doing. Because I'm not like Pam. I don't do everything blindfolded. She's very good at doing things blindfolded. I'm not. Okay, I need light. Even though I will not admit that, but I do need light.
When you look at this is, I know for a fact what it costs to do Facebook advertising because I work in a firm that does it. We do small Facebook advertising. I pay somebody every month almost $400 a month to do Facebook advertising.
That's right. That's right.
400. That's four with two zeros after a month.
Right.
Facebook advertising only.
And on top of that, you may not always get the results from your advertising that you want.
Oh, that is non-guaranteed results.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
you could spend that for 4 months. That's $1,600. Now, was it well spent? Did you get anything back on it? You only know if people call you up and you get it, but they'll tell you it takes 6 months of that in the beginning just to get your name out there. The results are at least 6 months behind. So 6 months at $400 is $2,400 just off the top for advertising in Facebook. And that's the going rate.
Yep. So now it's time for our music commercial. Miss Pam, will you please tell us what our music is going to be today?
Okay, well, as we're talking about today with the coronavirus, the epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, pagan musicians can't get out to their groups anymore. And trust me, there's a lot of them that, would go to these gatherings. This time of year is gathering time. So what Nikki and I do is she selects a song from a musician or a band, and we display their music video or just their song once a week. A lot of times it's someone that's been on our show or is going to be on our show. And it just is to get the music out there and to let you know these guys are still out there. They haven't disappeared and you can still get their music. So today we have this musician coming on the show. Intent alert here. She is going to be on our show, and I'm looking at my little thing here. When do we have her on the show?
We have her September the 13th.
September 13th. Okay. Now her name is Heidi Holton, and it's from her album. It's Why Mama Cries. And the name of the song is The Hardest Card to Play. So take a listen and see if you like her music.
Got me a jack of diamonds. Well, it eats right from my hands. Got me a jack of diamonds. That boy eats right from my hands. Well, you know a jack of diamonds is the weakest kind of man. I sold my money and my matches. I'm gonna save it for a rainy day. I sold my money and my mattress. Sure, gonna save it for a rainy day. Well, Mr. McDowell says a jack of diamonds is the hardest card to play. Now, I don't know about your condition, but I know me. I'm gonna break the lock if I can find the key. Oh, it leaves me lonely, but it will not leave me be. Well, there's many roads to misery. Sit down, I'll tell you about 2 or 3. Now if a heart was ammunition, I wear mine on my sleeve, and I'd lay you in the ground like you are. Now believe, don't you leave me lonely. Oh baby, now please don't leave me be. There's many roads to misery. Why don't you drive me down about 2 or 3? I got me a jack of diamonds. Well, it eats right from my hands. Got me a jack of diamonds. That boy eats right from my hands. Well, you know a jack of diamonds is the weakest kind of man.
back.
That was wonderful. We've been so blessed with such good people to come on the show. I'm just like, this is really cool. I
Yeah,
got to give us a plug every once in a while because we really do get some awesome people on the show.
we do get some awesome people on this show. I tell you, with Heidi and I, we go back. So I am actually really looking forward to that one. So I'm going to share right quick after our broadcast. We're going to publicize this, and it's into supporting some of our local pagan businesses. It has on there their websites for you to be able to go to, and we've talked about several different ones of those. So I wanted to show you that right quick. So be looking forward to that. And we were talking about Miss Pam because we have to get the Pam opinion. Okay. Why should now here's a question for you because I love asking you this question. And I think our audience loves for you to answer this question.
Uh-oh.
Why should we charge to do a tarot reading?
Let me tell you. There is a misnomer that's been in the community, and I've been in the community for this is my 51st year this fall. So I've been around for a while. And I always, it just like, well, with anybody that offers a service, especially, and that's a reading or oracle or runes or whatever, even if you're marrying people, if you're clergy and have the ability to do that, people always want something for nothing. First of all, you put a value on something by how much it cost you, whether it cost you years to get or whether it cost you financially. You put a value on it. If you give away your items, nobody values them unless that person for some reason values that. I am not saying you never give a free reading because the first thing that happens when a group of witches get together, we all know what happens. Everybody brings out their latest tarot deck that they just bought, so we want to do a reading. That is among friends. That is like when you get together with a group of people who make candles. First thing we do is start sniffing each other's candles, because it's like, oh, what do you got? Let me see. What's the last, shape that you do? I do candles in shapes because I just think it's really cool. So I do, little goddesses and things like that. So it's, I want to see the mold that the next person got that I didn't get. But when a person comes up to you and says, okay, you do readings. Yeah. Well, do me a reading. Okay, it's going to cost you. And they go, oh, you're going to charge me? Let me explain something to you. You're muted, honey.
I really hate when that happens. Yeah, because it's your spiritual gift, Pam. Your gift is from the goddess.
Oh yeah, and I'm not supposed to charge for my gift,
Like
honey.
it's like a sin or some crap like that.
I also have another gift from the goddess, and it's called my ability to do math. And you best believe I charge my employer for that gift. All the time that I spent learning to read tarot, and I spent many years learning because that is a developed craft. You start out, you're not so good, but as you go along, you get better and better. I have 40-some years practice, so I'm pretty good at it. Why would I charge? Well, on the nights when you were out partying with your friends, I was sitting my butt at home practicing my craft. When you were out probably going to high school dances, I was sitting at home practicing my craft. I have put years into my craft. Would you ask a doctor or a lawyer for free? Now, they get asked all the time, let me tell you, because I know some. And they'll tell you, I'll give you free advice, but it's worth what you pay for it.
That's true.
And I'm going to tell you, anybody who has the gift, and I don't care what gift it is, precognition, telepathy, whatever it is, reading auras, yes, they were given that gift, but they were given that gift to use it as necessary.
That's true.
Now, the goddess does not make us inherently stupid. We do a really good job of that all by ourselves. We need no. So the goddess gave me this gift. You're absolutely right. Does the goddess want you to live in poverty and hatefulness every day? No, she wants you, if I remember the charge correctly, All acts of love and pleasure are my ritual. Well, for me, it's not pleasurable to live in poverty. So I charge for that because God has told you right there in the charge, all acts of love and pleasure are my ritual. If I'm giving you a ritual because the goddess has imbued me with this ability, then yes, I'm going to charge for it because I worked on it. Just like a doctor or a lawyer, or I have a degree in clinical psychology. Okay. That cost me 4 years of my life. Plus, we won't even talk about student loans. We're not even going to go to student loans. Okay. So even if you just took that part out of the equation, 4 years of my life was tied up into that degree. How much is that worth to me? Well, at the time, I could have been making on average $35,000 to $40,000 a year. 4 years at $40,000 is $160,000. That's how much of my life I tied up into it. We're not talking about how much money I paid in student loans. You're talking over $200,000. That's what it cost me.
Mhm.
So divide that out and figure out how many tarot readings I got to do to make up $200,000.
True.
And it's the same with the service. I don't know of any person who is a minister, Catholic, rabbi, or minister that is not going to charge you for a wedding, a funeral, awakening, and or baptism. Do you? I mean, I'm just asking. I don't know of any of them. They've always went,
Yep.
okay. You have them come to your house and do your marriage, your wedding out in the backyard. You still got to pay them. You feed them. You still got to pay them. I'm like, crap, I've already fed you.
You still have to pay them. Yeah. And see, and here's the thing. You not only pay them for the actual service they do, but you pay them for their travel, any materials that they need. You need to pay them also for that because little bitty the candles, I'm sorry, they're not free. We would even if we say, hey, I mean, Pam and I are both third degrees, and we both are ordained, and we can be able to do weddings and awakenings and funerals and all that other stuff. So even though that we are third degree, the little candles that we use or the oils or whatever it is that we use, they're not free. Just because we're third degree does not give us a here's our free card. We're going to get all this stuff free. Unless Pam lost hers. Now, Pam, if you lost yours, that's
I
your
have to look for that card. Yeah.
because I have not yet received mine, and I'm really ticked off if you received yours. Okay,
All right.
we're going
So
at it. And
how long did it take you to get to your third degree with your life, living your life? It took how many years?
God, in the Corellian tradition,
Yes.
just
Okay.
just from second to third, 14 years, because I had a life to live. I
Right.
had not only was it a physical thing, but it was an emotional, a mental, and a spiritual awakening I had to go through. Because when you become third degree, it is a calling, period. It's not something that, oh, you wake up and oh yes, let's be third degree. Yes, yes. And then you open up your own fan club. I'm sorry.
I wish. Girl, it takes time. Time is money. I can get money back. I cannot get my time back. Now, that may not hit you guys until you're over 60. Once you hit that big 60, things start to change for you. You start thinking about, when you can say 50 years ago, I started this path. That's a half a century. And you start thinking about, okay, how much did I make on my path? I'm in the negative big time.
Yep.
There were times you will gift something. You will gift awakening. You might gift a wedding, but it's done as a gift and the person knows it. You say, I'm going to gift this to you. This is my gift to you, rather than buying you a gift or whatever. The reason that you're paid for that is you're paid for the time it takes you to get to that point, just like a doctor, a lawyer, or anybody like that. you put your time in and you studied it. If everybody could do it, then everybody would do it.
True.
Not everybody who starts finishes. Not everybody who finishes the first degree will go on to second degree. They may stop there. They may stop at second degree. They may go halfway through the third and say, it's not for me, I'm done.
That's-
It may take years to do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just the time you put in to learn the lessons either. Because, for example, with the Correllian tradition, you have to do soul retrieval. Now, that's a whole new other ball game. Okay. That is going deep, deep, deep into the core. And it's not just a one-time thing. Okay. You have to do it multiple times, depending on the person, depending on how many tragedies you've had in your life. And there's always these other little varieties. But I wanted to read from Libby Armstrong, who is also part of the Correllian tradition. She has what is called the Collective Witchery, and they're going to have a summit in about a month or so. And of course, I get to be, yay, you get to turn around and hear me if you go there. So she made one point that I really wanted to make, and it says, be aware of the poor pagan myth. We all want to help our fellow pagans, and inevitably there will be someone who will tell you that they are just simply a poor pagan and will ask for a discount or even damage or either demand something for free. They feel that they are entitled because they are a pagan like you. It's a trap. Don't go there. Don't price your items and services with the poor pagan in mind. You started your business to help people by offering them a great product or service. You also started your business to make money to pay your bills. When you discount something, you are discounting your dreams. Receiving money as a trade for something you create should be a fair energy exchange. And since you are the creator, you get to demand what that exchange value should be, not the person giving you the money. Your energy went into creating, packaging, and selling your item or service, and you should be compensated for that energy. Remember, I was telling you about how much it takes just to do a simple little candle. Now, personally, I may offer a discount at my discretion if the person has shown me a serious interest at something. I can sense from their energy that they are sincere. In other words, your energy does not lie. I know that the item or service will truly make a difference in their life. But we start product business with a pricing attitude of, quote, we'll never price something for more than what we could afford to pay for it ourselves, unquote. And while this is a great strategy to begin with, we learn that we become more able and are willing to pay higher prices for things. Our prices have to reflect that as well. So don't forget to increase your pricing as needed. And that's really, really valuable. It was something that when I first went into business, I had to hear because that was what I had in mind. Because you've always been told we're pagans, we're hippies, we love peace, love, and all that other stuff. No, no, no. We have pagans now that are attorneys, that are life coaches. Do you know how hard it is to find a life coach that is pagan? It's very we have very, very few of them. Okay, because most of them are Christian, or most of them are or another religion. To find a pagan coach, a pagan life coach, that is one of the few things in the world that is very, very valuable, especially if you find somebody who is going to understand where you're coming from, or you find a pagan psychologist or a psychiatrist, because when you turn around and say, well, I'm talking to the dead, they don't think that you're lunatics. Okay.
And
And
that's true. And when you do price your stuff, we're not trying to get rich off the first customer that walks in the door. This attitude goes back. Pagans are heathens. This goes back to, we're talking medieval times when the pagans were the country folk living on the outside of the town, and they were poor. It has developed this because the town witch, sage, whatever, would take in somebody and it was a servitude position. You promised your life to this person in return for their knowledge. Now, let's move up to the 21st century. We cannot do that anymore. That does not work. So you can't pledge your servitude to me and not work to earn a living, because I'd have to be making enough for both of us.
That's
So
true.
instead, we charge for our services. It's a fair charge. If you go around where I live, psychic readings, the first 3 card tarot readings are $5 a hit. It's all in my neighborhood, or it's allowed. You can go by that, you see the sign, psychic reading, $5. That's probably a 5-minute reading. It's not bad. 10-minute reading, $5. That's pretty cheap. Break it down to the minutes.
Mm-hmm. And it's not only that. When you take let's go back to the tarot reading, for example. Do you know that when I do a tarot reading, I'm really, really into that reading, into that moment. I'm putting all of my energy in. And sometimes, especially when I do like 3 or 4 or 5 of them, I get tired because
Yeah.
you're putting your energy into it.
All right,
I get,
$10 an hour.
yeah,
Okay. How long does it take you to do an average quick reading? 15 minutes?
it depends on what they're reading, but like for 3 cards, it can be about 10 minutes, 5
All right,
minutes.
10 minutes. So that means you could get 6 an hour, right? Okay. So $5, it's pretty good if you're making $10 an hour. And let's be honest, a living wage is $15 an hour.
Mhm.
All right, we'll make it 15. $15 an hour is your living wage. You can do 6, you said, about ish.
Yeah, give it like 10 minutes. Let's just say it's just a regular.
Okay.
Okay.
So 6 times, you can do 10. 6 times, and then you're $15. That's only $30. Well, you're only talking about getting maybe, because you don't get one after the other.
Right.
Okay, you get maybe 4 an hour if you're reading, because you got to take the next person in. You've got a time exchange.
Yes.
Okay, so you get 4 readings an hour. So if you were to charge $5 for those 4 readings an hour, that's $20 an hour. Now you would have to do that all day long, every day, 5 days a week for 40 hours in order to come up with what you would earn at a job at a living wage. Am I correct?
That's true.
Okay, so if you've got to do 4 an hour times 8, that's 32 readings a day. I don't know of any witch who can do 32 readings a day.
That's true.
Literally, and be able to walk out a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So when we ask for $5, that's cheap as shit, guys.
Exactly.
Okay, and of that money, okay, you still have to pay gas, electric. If you're at a store doing it, you've got to pay your rent, and that includes gas and electric, rent, whatever all else is required.
And don't forget, you may end up having to pay to rent a table unless you brought yours in, and then that means that space you got to do that. Plus, if you let's say you have a cloth, if you want to make things really, really fancy, you got your cloth that you have to go over your table, and then you have your cards or
Cards
room
alone.
or whatever that you've got. Some people, I bring like 2 or 3 things to be able to do my readings.
All right, your cards run what, about $50 a set in that neighborhood?
Yeah. It depends on what it is. And then on top of that, you have to each card, each tarot card, number 1 has a different meaning. So you have to go and you have to meditate with that card, because with each deck, each meaning they're similar, but they are slightly a little bit different. It's just like I get into arguments all the time about the Tower card. A lot of people view the Tower card as very, 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 very bad. But in the Dragon Tarot, it actually means that you need to find some stability, is what it means. If you find a stability, you can be able to avoid this tragedy or whatever's going to happen. Now, if I were just to go out and regular and not sit here and actually learn my deck, I wouldn't be able to do a proper reading to you, because each deck has the artwork alone shows
We
you
just
exactly what
got
it
the
is.
new Corellian decks in. Did you get your Corellian deck? I got mine.
Oh my God, that is 100 cards.
I know.
100 cards. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. 100 cards.
It's
And
132 pages to print on your printer.
exactly.
I just printed it. I have to spend time reading that.
Uh-huh.
I don't
And
know how fast y'all read, but 132 pages takes a minute.
plus they got extra cards in there because it is 100 cards.
Oh
So
my goodness.
cards have different meanings to them on top of that.
Now, I paid money for that. I'm not going to lie to you. You can go on the Corellian website and see how much it is. I will not lie to you.
Yep.
I have about 7 decks because every tarot reader has different decks for different things and for different days, for different seasons. Each reader is as individual as each person is. So what I have decks for, Nikki's going to have different decks, and she's going to have for different reasons.
Yeah, even runes, okay? All right.
Yeah.
Even if you buy your runes, that's a cost, okay? Because you have to have a bag with your runes. You have to have the bag.
Most runes are $50.
Yeah. And if you make yours, they may be slightly cheaper. However, you have time you have to put into that in order to make them. And then on top of that, even when you buy yours, okay, even when we buy cards, we have to bond with the energies of the deck, of the runes, of whatever. That takes time as well as cleaning all the negative energies that have come with it from other people, turn around and picking it up and putting it down and all that other stuff. So there is so much that is not there, that's not written out. This is okay, this is what you're paying for, that is actually existing. And unless you understand that, then people turn around and they say, well, $5, that's a little bit too much for a 3-card reading. Can we get it at $1? Or better yet, you're pagan. You're pagan, Pam. Don't you know you're
Yes.
pagan? And don't you know you're supposed to do this for free because it's what the goddess gave you?
Yeah, well, the goddess gave me this goddess body. I got the body of the goddess, the Venus goddess, you know, and I got to fill this body, and this body does not get filled with an empty refrigerator. Now, I saw the perfect meme for that was a very large, good-looking man opening his refrigerator when someone asked him for a painting for free, and he said, I got to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I get really infuriated with people thinking they can get something for free, because I'm going to tell you the honest truth. 90% of the time, they're the ones with money. That's how they got their money. Think about it.
That's true.
I am so against that. And I'm so against a pagan, and I call it pimping herself. And I will, because that's what you're doing. Do not underprice or undervalue yourself. Do I charge for speaking? I used to teach at the community college level. I got $25 an hour to teach. And that was in 2009.
Yeah, I was back in
$25.
the day when she had Dino.
Yeah, really, it felt like it. To 2009, I'm getting $25 an hour to teach.
Yeah.
If I go to teach a class, I would charge $50 for 2 hours, because that's what I'm worth. I got the paperwork that says that's what I'm worth. That's how you can find out your worth.
Mhm.
Find somebody who does what you do. I taught, and I taught at a community college level. Therefore, I have the credentials to teach. Otherwise, a community college would not hire me. So that means if they're going to pay me $25 an hour, then yes, if I'm going to teach something, I am worth $25 an hour. Now, I'm not even going up in inflation. I'm not going up with the cost level between 2009 and 2020. I mean, there is an inflation that went
Yep.
with it. Even if I just charge that $25, I can prove I'm worth that. Now, don't pimp yourself. Don't go out there for 20 bucks and do something that you know that you're not worth it. People will pay you for what they think you're worth. Now, that being said, you better be worth that money. Now, I obviously can teach. I have credentials. It's, but if you're going to teach a class and you're going to charge for it, make sure that you are capable of doing that and that you are worthy of that. And many, many pagans out there, I used to deal with an elder in our Baltimore community. I loved her. She was so down to earth, and she was asked to teach at a gathering, and she gave them her fee, and they like fell over dead. They're like, charge me? And she politely looked at them and said, why are you asking me to teach this? I said, well, you know the material and you're a really good teacher. Exactly. So that's what you're going to pay for, a really good teacher, and I know the material.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I heard her say that and I burst out laughing. We used to run gatherings every month at a local pub. We got the upstairs, and they would feed us, that kind of thing. And their charge was just for us ordering from them. So of course you're in the pub, you're going to order, you're going to eat, and we would teach. We did teaching rituals, we did all sorts of stuff. I mean, you got so much knowledge out there, and we did not require payment for that because we were offering it freely to the community. But if you're going to ask me somewhere, keep in mind that you're asking me to come there because you value what I have. If you value me, then there's nothing wrong with paying me
That's true.
for the value that I have. And nothing evaluates you more than giving something away for free. I don't know any prostitute that gives free samples.
You know?
I might be wrong. But if they charge, then honey, you're not gonna.
Right.
So think about it in terms of just actual life experience. You pay for your crap, don't you? I pay for my tarot. Did you pay for your tarot cards?
Yep, it wasn't given to me. And another thing, another reason why you charge is because you have to have self-respect for yourself. And when you charge, people actually look at you differently. And they want to be able to understand and come to your places. Okay? They want to understand, they want to come to with you speaking. That's what they want to do. And they will respect you for it. And so do not back down, because maybe that's not the right customer. Maybe the goddess wants another customer for you.
As long as you're not overpricing yourself for what you do have to look at your community, I grant you. But let's face it, most of the pagans nowadays are not heathens out on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
We are doctors, we are lawyers, we are accountants. We're people who make money, because if you don't have any spendable income, then you're not buying in the first place. So if you have income and you're buying, you got it.
That's true.
Now, I will tell you, sometimes I get into a new age store, a pagan store. I do have to leave my wallet locked up in my car because I have a tendency to go, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. I have never haggled price ever, because I know what goes into it. And as a pagan, so should you.
That's
You
true.
make something. I don't care what you make. You made something. You put your life essence into it. Part of you went into whatever you made. I don't care what you think. You concentrated on it. You thought about it. Why do you think we value handmade stuff? You come to a pagan gathering and you bring me a homemade candle, or you bring me homemade bath salts. I am all over you. You bring me something bought. Okay, it's nice. But you bring me something homemade. I know that you specifically said, who's going to like this? Oh, this is her color. Or I know she loves dragon's blood. This is for her. Okay. You made that decision in your mind So you already put that intent right out there. The same way when you're making for your customers, if I'm making my bath salts to sell, I've already put my love into it. I've put my intent into it. I've made those, I've baked them, I put them in their little packages and I decorated them and I did all of that. And then I put them on a shelf to sell. Do you not think that that's going to mean something more than pulling it out of a manufacturer's tub and throwing it on your shelf? That's why so many pagan stores carry homemade items. Pagans understand the value of something that is handmade. It does not have to be perfect because we're not. You know, your candle might be a little crooked or, you know, it might not set 100% right. But you put time into that candle. And I will tell you, it's not easy to make candles. Everybody thinks, oh, it's really easy. You just pour the mold in it. No, it doesn't work that way.
Mold into that because we don't have time to get into that, Pam. We're gonna have to table this now and go for the time. I mean, there's still so much stuff that we've got to talk to you about, but we can't talk about it because we've got the witches cabinet. And Miss Pam, you need to tell us, what are we going to do with the witches cabinet today?
Welcome today to the Witches Cabinet. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Book of Shadows. I've touched on it a few times, and a lot of people ask me, how do you keep a Book of Shadows? Book of Shadows, or a grimoire, was kept many, many years ago, and paper was scarce, so people would write everything on one piece of paper, down the sides of the book, on the back page, and everything. Today's modern witches them in many different ways. Some of them keep them online. I mean, that's great. I'm a little bit more old school. I tend to actually keep books, but I keep many books too. One of the ones I like is my night journal. And I tell you to keep a night journal. I usually write before I go to sleep. This is one I use. This is another one. This is made out of, this is really awesome. And they turned it into a nice little journal book. And I tell you to find something that you really like in a journal because you're not going to write in something that you don't care for. Find you a very nice journal, something that appeals to you and only you. When you start, you're going to write in your journal every day, every night. Try to make it. Write down your feelings, your thoughts, your passion, what happened today. Even if it's something as mundane as I got up and I went to work today. That book gives you a little sense of what you are. I've been on the path for over 50 years. I have some journals that are 50 years old. And it's kind of neat to go back and look at them and see what I wrote and see how life affected me then. What I thought then were life and death situations are now situations I go, oh my goodness, was I really that upset about that? Also, it does give you that cathartic. I have a BS in psychology. Psychologists are now urging people to write journals. Because when you write it down and you go back and read it, sometimes you can figure out why you're angry, or you can figure out how to diffuse the situation before it becomes a situation. Because you've written it down, it gets it out of your system. You've done something with that energy. You've written it, you've got it out. It's good to go. You have a million things you're going to be writing in them. We've gone over a couple of different recipes. So what do you do about that? Because I ask people, well, I am an organizational freak, as you can see, organized. That's how I work. So what I have done is I have different books. I use notebooks for recipes. I have a recipe book. For spells, I have a spell book that I actually write down the spell, the day I did it, and everything. If I'm doing a special intention spell, I just scribble it in there really quick. There are actually forms online that you can get that will explain to you how to use one. And they're a lot of fun to look at, a lot of fun to keep. I suggest for all beginning witches, start keeping a track of your spells that you cast. This does a couple things. One, you don't forget what you cast. Two, you can go back and see what you did. It didn't work right this time. What did I forget to do? So then you start looking at it and you start getting ideas. You can make them as fancy as you want. And I have some pretty nice ones down here. Of course, I told you guys before, purple's one. This is a pink and purple. You have all different kinds of books and you just start keeping them. Always mark on the spine what they are. Mark the years on. It's always fun to go back over the years and look at one that you've written on. Say, wow, was I really thinking about this? This is one of my older ones in the front. I always spell to bless the book and anybody mentioned in there. And I put the date that I started. This one is 2014. And then I start writing. And it's just my life. Sometimes these come invaluable. I know I write them. And even at work, if I have to remember something I did or I didn't do, or something that really bothered me, I can actually go home with my journal and say, okay, what day was it that she did this? Or what day was it I was so angry about that? I'll go back to my journal. Yeah, right here. It gives you something to look at. Also for your resumes, okay, this sounds crazy. I got a job in my journal. I was so excited. I got the job. Wrote it in my journal. So if I ever need to go back on my resume and figure out when I got the job, it's like, oh yeah, here I got it. It's a great reference before you. It's also a great reference when you start collecting. You'll find over the years, you're going to collect recipes, you're going to collect spells, you're going to collect rituals. A lot of people write their own rituals, and it's kind of cool. I know that in our tradition, we have some of our major Sabbats and Esbats written by Don Lewis. I've also, as I've taught the classes, I have a set of normal, full moon spells, dark moon spells, kinds of things that I'm able to pull out really quick and teach a class with. This also helps you when you start writing your own rituals that concentrate on what you're writing for. It's always good to write new rituals because you're always declaring new information. I know in a pinch, you get called in. If you start writing your rituals, you're able to pull off a ritual without any help at all. Someone just say, oh, you got a call quarter tonight. You're going, okay, not a problem. I wrote 3 rituals. I know how to call quarters. It really helps you in that way. Decorate your books however you want. Make them yours alone. Your journals are extremely important because that's where you're going to write everything in them. And you're going to write all your silly stuff in them. But again, these can be historical references. The Diary of Anne Frank is an excellent one. She just wrote whatever she felt that day. And it's interesting to go back over and look at. After you're gone, I have gifted my journals to different members of my family so that they can have them and see what I was going through. And it kind of keeps you alive a little bit longer because your family can see what you're going on. When you're doing all of these, you're going to have, after a while, you're going to build up like I've got a million books, and you'll have a ton of notebooks. These notebooks are always wonderful to go back to and to pull out as reference. As a 3rd degree in our tradition and as a crone in our tradition, my job is to teach. That's what I said that I would do when I signed up. When you get to a certain age, that is your purpose. My purpose is to teach. Therefore, for me to remember everything I'm going to tell you now, I'm like I can remember my name first thing in the morning. So I'm able to come back to my reference books, pull what I read out, look at it, use it, and go forward. So it's not just a reference for you to look at and have fun with, it's also a reference for the future. I've got things I've written down, 20, 30 years ago that I've brought back and used again today. Something that would be purposeful for today, I'm able to go back and look at. I recommend getting yourself some cheap notebooks, 2 or 3, or you can get spiral books. You're good with spiral books. I'm not, because I like to be able to change things in alphabetical order. I know everybody's shaking their head going, oh my goodness. Yes, I do. I put my recipes in alphabetical order, or at least I have them kind of separated in what they were for. And I do the same thing with my rituals and my spells. So depending upon the spell I've written, if it was the spell for money, I have like 5 or 6 of them in here. And then I go back, and if they work, I put down how they work. So that's another reference that you use. You can go back and look at that and use it again for what you said the spell for. You set your intention. How well did it work? Set an intention for a spell for money. You don't put much effort into it. You find a penny on the floor. Guess what? Your spell was answered. You got to be real specific when it cast a spell. If you do it, it comes out, it works good. That's the one you keep. That's when you put the 2 stars by. So the next time you need that money spell, that's a spell you go back to. It works. It's wonderful to have them, keep them. They are really great, like I said, for teaching and for reference. Your journal is your most important. This is the book you write in your life. This is when you keep under lock and key until the time when you're ready to give it up. Find something you like to write on and something you like to write with. Find the funkiest pen you can, or just something that feels so good in your hand, you just can't help but write with it. And that way you will intent yourself to write. This is the Witch's Cabinet for today about our journals. Wish you luck in your journey. And I'm back to you, Nikki. So let me know how your journals come out. And we'd love to see some pictures of them.
All righty. That was awesome, Pam.
Thank you. And I haven't seen any pictures yet, guys, so send me pictures of those journals. They are one of the most important books is your journal. It really is.
Yes, they really are. And you know what, Pam? It's been so nice. She is actually going to give us a book blessing, which will be on our Facebook page.
Always
Yes, she can be really nice when she wants to be. And that's not, the usual Pam. Okay, I'll go ahead and tell you that. But she can be nice when she wants to be. But that's going to be our show for today. Now, next week, Pam and I have a real treat in store for you as we do our Maybon edition. So you don't really want to miss that. So thank you, Pam, for being able to be the co-host with me.
All right. We're
All
good
right.
to go next week. Lots of food, guys. So start getting out pens and papers to write down those recipes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We love you. And we will see you next week.